In the faraway hills, beyond the rivers and thick forests of the Obodo kingdom, there was a small, quiet village called Umueze. Life there was simple. The people farmed their yam and cassava, fetched water from the stream, and sat together under the moonlight to tell stories passed down from their fathers. Children laughed as they played in the dust. Women sang as they pounded fufu, and men sharpened their machetes before heading to the farms. To an outsider, Umueze looked like a place of peace. But under that peace, a shadow was waiting to rise. It would begin with a young woman, her beauty admired, her smile disarming, and a mark on her body that everyone dismissed as nothing. She always said it was only a birthmark, but when the truth came out, the entire village trembled in fear. Her name was Amarachi, the only daughter of her widowed mother. She was not loud or boastful like some other young women. She was calm, soft-spoken, and respectful. Men admired her beauty, and mothers praised her humility. But there was something different about her. On her shoulder, just below her collarbone, there was a strange dark mark shaped like an eye. People noticed it when she went to fetch water or when she bathed at the stream with other girls. Whenever they asked about it, Amarachi would smile gently and say, "It is only a birthmark." She would laugh it off as if there was nothing more to it. The people believed her. After all, many had marks on their skin, some round, some long, some like patches. Why would hers be any different? But deep inside, Amarachi knew her mark was not ordinary. Since childhood, her late mother had warned her never to speak of it too much, never to allow anyone to question it for long. She was told to cover it when necessary, and to call it only a birthmark. What she did not know was that the truth behind the mark was darker than anything she could imagine. At first, life in Umueze carried on as it always had, but soon strange things began to happen. It started small. Chickens went missing at night. Goats were found dead in the morning, lying stiff as if life had been drained from them, but with no blood or wounds on their bodies. The villagers murmured among themselves. Some said it was the work of thieves. Others whispered it was witchcraft. Days passed, and then people began to die too. It was never with wounds. Their bodies were found in the mornings, cold and lifeless, their faces twisted in silent terror, and their eyes wide open as though they had seen something too terrible for words. The village was thrown into fear. The elders poured libations and made sacrifices to the gods. Hunters went into the forest to search for evil animals, but they returned empty-handed. The deaths continued, and no one could explain them. Still no one thought of Amarachi. Why would they? She was quiet, respectful, always willing to help her neighbors. To the people of Umueze, she was the least likely person to bring trouble, but there was one man who began to notice something. His name was Obina, a hunter known for his sharp eyes and fearless heart. Obina had lived all his life in Umueze. He knew the patterns of the village. He knew when people fell ill, when animals strayed, when strangers visited. And he noticed something others did not. Whenever there was a mysterious death, or when animals were found lifeless, Amarachi had always been nearby that same day. At first he brushed it off. It could be coincidence. But as the deaths increased, the coincidences became too many. And then one night, Obina saw something that changed his suspicion into certainty. He had been returning late from the bush when he noticed a faint glow near Amarachi's hut. Curious, he moved closer, hiding behind a tree. What he saw froze his heart. Amarachi was standing outside, her wrapper loose around her shoulders. The mark on her skin, the one shaped like an eye, was glowing. Slowly the mark moved, and then it opened like a real eye, blinking and shining in the darkness. Obina could hardly breathe. Before his eyes, a shadowy figure began to rise out of the glowing mark. It was like smoke, but with the form of a serpent, its eyes burning red in the night. Amarachi whispered to it, and the creature hissed as if replying. Then with a sudden slither, it disappeared into the darkness. The next morning, another villager was found dead. His body was cold, his eyes staring wide at nothing. The people wailed in fear. Only Obina knew the truth, but he dared not speak yet. Who would believe him? The fear in Umueze grew worse. Mothers kept their children indoors. Men no longer moved at night. The once lively village became silent after sunset. The elders performed more sacrifices, but nothing changed. Each death was the same. No wounds, no blood, only a body drained of life. The people began to say that a spirit had cursed their land, but still Amarachi walked among them, calm and beautiful, her quiet smile hiding her terrible secret. Whenever anyone asked about her mark, she said the same thing. It is only a birthmark. Obina could not rest. What he had seen haunted him. He decided to seek the wisdom of the oldest woman in the village, Mama Ejima, a herbalist respected for her knowledge of things beyond the physical. Obina told her everything he had seen. The old woman listened silently, her wrinkled face grave. When he finished, she sighed heavily and said, "That is not a birthmark, my son. That is the eye of Ajani, a cursed spirit mark. It is a doorway through which a dark being enters this world. Once awakened, it feeds on the life of men and animals. The host may seem innocent, but the spirit within is hungry, and it will never stop until it is bound again." Mama Ejima prepared a small gourd filled with sacred ash and tied a charm made of cowries and red thread. She gave them to Obina, warning him that when the eye opened, he must strike it with the ash. If he failed, the spirit would consume him too. That night, Obina prepared himself. He waited until the village slept, then went quietly to Amarachi's hut. Through a small crack, he saw her. She was sitting alone, her face calm. But then the mark on her shoulder glowed and the eye blinked open. The shadowy serpent began to rise again. Obina burst into the hut, shouting the names of the ancestors. The spirit turned toward him, hissing, its body spreading like smoke. Amarachi's calm face twisted into fear and anger. She tried to stop him, but Obina flung the sacred ash onto her shoulder. The mark burned bright. Amarachi screamed and the spirit shrieked, filling the hut with a terrible sound. It twisted and fought, trying to escape, but the charm in Obina's hand glowed fiercely. The spirit shrieked one last time, then burst into flames and vanished into the night. Amarachi collapsed to the floor, unconscious. By morning, the whole village had gathered. Obina told them what had happened. Amarachi wept when she awoke. She confessed that she had always known her mark was dangerous. Her late mother had warned her to hide it, to call it only a birthmark. But when she grew into a woman, the spirit awakened and she could not control it. The villagers were torn. Some wanted her banished forever, saying she had brought death upon them. Others pitied her, saying she was also a victim of the curse. The chief listened to both sides and then declared that Amarachi would be sent to live with priestesses who could guard her and keep the spirit from rising again. Obina was praised as a hero, the one who had faced the eye of Ajani and saved the village. But he himself felt no pride, only relief that the deaths had stopped. Years passed, but the story of Amarachi was never forgotten. Mothers told it to their daughters as a warning. Not every mark is ordinary. Beauty can hide danger, and silence can cover evil. The people of Umueze learned to be cautious, to look beyond what the eyes can see. And so Amarachi's story became a legend. She said it was just a birthmark, but the truth terrified the village forever.